person who knows what they're doing, which is hilarious because I'm not. Why? Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties this morning, and I cannot undersell to you how annoying that is. So I've already tried to go live on my fancy software, and it didn't work. At which point I was like, you know what? No, we're just gonna do it from Facebook, because as much as I want you to have the little like intro and the slides with the images of the books and everything, I'm also not going to do what I did last week, which is accidentally do the entire show and then realize I was never live and I have to do the entire thing again. So, we are doing it old school, just me and Facebook, me and my mortal enemy. This should be interesting. Actually, it's probably going to be uneventful because it's just Facebook. And as much as they like to find cruel and innovative ways to change their platform, they also are in the interest of just letting me go live. So, pretty sure it'll just be up here. Unfortunately, it does mean we're not going to get to see the covers of books, but as always, you can sign up for the newsletter. The link is not in the description below, unfortunately, because of technological shenanigans, but is available with our other newsletters if you go to our webpage. What else I gotta tell you? This is Tia New Book Tuesday, and I'm Lisa the Librarian. I'm here to talk to you about Mobile Public Library's new books coming in February. Because we only have 3 episodes this month, there's a lot of different genres in today's. I want to get as much of February in as I can, and again, publishing seems to be ramping up. Who's talking to me? Are they telling me I'm live? Because there's literally no other message I want right now. I think it's just telling me I'm supposed to go live, which is the silliest message in the world. Anyway, so we're going to talk about little romance, a decent chunk of historical fiction, and I think 1 fantasy and 1 horror, because you're not going to get away from a month with me without at least some horror. Next month, we have a similar problem. In February, we will talk about March. But because of Mardi Gras, I think we only have 3 Tuesdays. So we'll fit everything into there. And I'll try to look at it. I mean, I did try to look at it to see how to break things up. But when publishing kicks up, man, the yellow labels kick up. Yellow labels are mystery, suspense, and thriller. They are never ending. And the list was so long this month. Just astronomically long. And I don't think it's going to be better next month. We might have more new, like, the stuff that ends up on the new book list, because most of January's new book list, or February's new book list, is series updates. Oh, and my tea today is Tazo lemon green tea, which is my favorite. I think you all know that by now. Or if you don't, welcome to Tea and New Book Tuesday. It's nice to have you here. Oh, I looked up how to pronounce names today, so we'll see how that goes. Don't worry, I'm sure I will still get other things wrong. But up until like 11:30, I felt like a person who was prepared. And then I decided to deal with OBS Broadcast, which is my software, and that feeling went away pretty fast. So how's everybody's Tuesday doing? I just reread Persuasion by Jane Austen, which is one of my favorites. I get that Emma and Pride and Prejudice are better books, and I'll probably reread Emma soon. But Persuasion holds a special place in my heart, as I think it's Austen's oldest heroine. She's like 28, which doesn't sound that old in modern concepts, but in Regency era, she was completely disregarded, particularly when considered in terms of a man her own age arriving in her social circle and whether or not he was going to marry one of the young girls. Like, no one considers her a candidate at all. And she had been engaged to this man when they were younger. So it's also about second chances, which I think is really sweet, and an older protagonist getting a second chance at love in Regency era England, written at the time, is all such a unicorn that I can forgive the book all its flaws. I also feel like it's kind of, I mean, I'm rereading Sense and Sensibility right now, so maybe I'll feel differently. But I do feel like Persuasion might be Austen's more feminist work, even though, of course, she would not have called it that because that's not really, I don't think that was a concept at the time. But there is a lot about how Anne is treated and disregarded that I think is Austen. Just like, not even making a point, just putting the truth in front of you and being like, do with this what you will. So yeah, that was enjoyable. For some reason in January, I do my rereads. Like, I think last year I reread Hunger Games, which was less fun. Still good. Hunger Games is just so well written. The whole series is beautifully written. And A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is also very good. And I think that's why I ended up rereading Hunger Games. But so yeah, right now I'm rereading Jane Austen. And I suppose we should get to your favorite part of Tea and Notebook Tuesday and mine, which is the giveaway. So hopefully I have the form for the giveaway in the description of this video. At least I put it in that very early description, the one that I think you put up first. If I have messed this up, I think we all know that that's possible. I promise I will put it in the comments after I'm off the live stream. So we have 4 books, mixture of different genres, 1 nonfiction, and I have some leftovers on the form. I think I only have 2 left though. You guys have kind of gone through which is exactly what I wanted you to do. I don't want the leftovers to just sit there gathering dust. If somebody wants them, they should have them. So, if you want either of those 2 leftovers, by all means, click it. Otherwise, you'll be entering the giveaway for these books. Let's start with the first one on the list, which is Damascus Station by David McCloskey. It is a thriller, and it's described as a CIA officer and his recruit arrive in a war-ravaged Damascus to hunt for a killer inside the Syrian presidential palace. CIA case officer Sam Jones is dispatched to Paris to recruit Syrian palace official Maryam Haddad. The two fall into a forbidden relationship, supercharging Haddad's recruitment and creating unspeakable danger when they enter Damascus to find the man responsible for the disappearance of an American spy. But the cat-and-mouse chase for the killer soon leads to a trail of high-profile assassinations and the discovery of a dark secret at the heart of the Syrian regime, bringing the pair under the all-seeing eyes of Assad's spy catcher Ali Hassan and his brother Rastum, the head of the feared Republican Guard. Set against the backdrop of Syria pulsing with fear and rebellion, Damascus Station is a pulse-pounding thriller that offers a textured portrayal of espionage, love, loyalty, and betrayal in one of the most difficult CIA assignments on the planet. So that's Damascus Station. Next up in the giveaway is Antoinette's Sister by Diana Giovinazzo. Okay. Austria, 1767. Maria Carolina Charlotte, 9th daughter and 16th child of Empress Maria Theresa of Austria, knows her position as a Habsburg Archduchess will inevitably force her to leave her home, her family, and her beloved country. But not yet. The Habsburg family is celebrating a great triumph. Charlotte's older sister, Josephina, has been promised to King Ferdinand IV of Naples and will soon take her place as queen. Before Josephina, can journey to her new home, however, tragedy strikes. After visiting the family crypt, Josephina contracts smallpox and dies. Shocked, Charlotte is forced to face an unthinkable new reality. She must now marry Ferdinand in her sister's stead. Bereft and alone, Charlotte finds that her new life in Naples is more complicated than she ever could have imagined. Ferdinand is weak and feckless, and a disastrous wedding night plunges her into despair. Her husband's regent, Tunucci, is a controlling and power-hungry man who has pushed the country to the brink of ruin. Overwhelmed, she asks her brother Leopold, now the Holy Roman Emperor, to send help, which he does in the form of John Action, a handsome military man 20 years Charlotte's senior, who is tasked to take over the navy. Now Charlotte must gather the strength to do what her mother did before her, take control of a country. In a time of political uprisings, royal executions, and the increasingly desperate cries of her favorite sister, Queen Marie Antoinette, and desperate crisis her favorite sister, Queen Marie Antoinette, is facing in France, how is a young monarch to keep hold of everything and everyone she loves? Find out in this sweeping, luxurious tale of family, court intrigue, and power. So that's Antoinette's sister. Next up, The Orphan Collector by Ellen Marie Weissman. In the fall of 1918, 13-year-old German immigrant Pia Lang longs to be far from Philadelphia's overcrowded slums and the anti-immigrant sentiment that compelled her father to enlist in the U.S. Army. But as her city celebrates the end of the war, an even more urgent threat arrives: the Spanish flu. Funeral crepe and quarantine signs appear on doors as victims drop dead in the streets, and desperate survivors wear white masks to ward off illness. When food runs out in the cramped tenement she calls home, Pia must venture alone into a quarantine city in search of supplies, leaving her baby brothers behind. Bernice Groves has become lost in grief and bitterness since her baby died from the Spanish flu. Watching Pia leave her brothers alone, Bernice makes a shocking, life-altering decision that leads her on a sinister mission to transform the city's orphans and immigrant children into what she feels are true Americans. As Pia navigates the city's somber neighborhoods, she cannot know that her brothers won't be home when she returns. And it will be a long and arduous journey to learn what happened, even as Bernice plots to keep the truth hidden at any cost. Only with persistence and the courage to face her own shame and fear will Pia put the pieces together and find the strength to risk everything to see justice at last. So that's The Orphan Collector. And this is our only pre-publication, and it's also our nonfiction of today. It's called Heartbreak, A Personal and Scientific Journey by Florence Williams. There we go. It comes out February 1st. And here we go. When her 25-year marriage suddenly falls apart, journalist Florence Williams expects the loss to hurt. What she doesn't expect is that she'll end up in the hospital examining close up the way our cells listen to loneliness. She travels to the frontiers of science of social pain to learn why heartbreak hurts so acutely and why so much of the conventional wisdom about it is wrong. Searching for insight as well as personal strategies to game her way back to health, Williams tests her blood for genetic markers of grief, undergoes electrical shocks in a laboratory while looking at pictures of her ex, and ventures to the wilderness in search of awe as the antidote to loneliness. For readers of Wild and Lab Girl, Heartbreak is a remarkable merging of science and self-discovery that will change the way we think about loneliness, health, and what it means to fall in and out of love. So that's Heartbreak. If you want any of these 4 books, be sure to... Okay, we can't feature this right now. What does that mean? Okay. I don't know what is happening and why Facebook is being Facebook about everything. Cannot tell you guys how much I wish that YouTube would let me do this. They won't because our page isn't big enough. And I can't do it on Instagram Live because we don't have Instagram. So we're here. I've already gone over the giveaway books. I'm going to start to go over the other books. I don't know if we're even going to finish today because this is just madness. I don't know if this stupid thing is going to end up being 2 different videos. We'll see. We'll see. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching it later, it may end up getting stitched together. Which is why this weird section in the middle where I complain. So anyway, let's move on to the books. I don't have the covers, so we're just going to talk about them. You'll have to imagine them in your mind, or go to the newsletter, or go to the Goodreads group, because I have all the titles there. And you can see the covers there. Okay. One Night on the Island by Josie Silver. Spending her 30th birthday alone is the last thing the dating columnist Cleo wanted. I want to expand this video. Sorry. I really need to know if I'm live. So I have to put up with seeing my own face. I'll just cover it up. Okay. Spending her 30th birthday alone is the last thing the dating columnist Cleo wanted. But she is going on a self-coupling quasi-sabbatical at the insistence of her boss, in the name of re-energizing herself and adding a new perspective to her column. The remote Irish island she's booked is a far cry from London, but at least it's a chance to hunker down in a luxury cabin and indulge in some quiet, solitary self-care while she figures out her next steps in her love life and her career. Mac is also looking forward to some time to himself. With his life in Boston deteriorating in ways... I've already lost my place. In ways he can't bring himself to acknowledge, his soul-searching has brought him to the same Irish island in search of his roots and some clarity. Unfortunately, a mix-up with the bookings means both solitude seekers have reserved the same one-bedroom hideaway on exactly the same dates. Instantly at odds with each other, Cleo and Mac don't know how they're going to manage until the next weekly ferry arrives. But as the days go by, they no longer seem to mind each other's company quite as much as they thought they would. Written with Josie Silver's signature warmth, charm, and insights into the human heart, One Night on the Island explores the meaning of home, the joys of escape, and how the things we think we want are never the things we really need. This got a starred review from Publishers Weekly, and in general, almost everything today got starred reviews from somebody. If you're interested in One Night on the Island, it comes out February 15th. I'm So Not Over You by... You know how I said I looked up names? I didn't look up the author's names. Kasoko Jackson is what I'm going with. Author's last name is Jackson, so that's what I'm calling them from now on. It's been months since aspiring journalist Kian Andrews has heard from his ex-boyfriend Hudson. But an urgent text has them meeting at a cafe. Maybe Hudson wants to profusely apologize for the breakup, or confess his undying love. But no, Hudson has a favor to ask. He wants Kian to pretend to be his boyfriend while his parents are in town, and Kian reluctantly agrees. The dinner doesn't go exactly as planned, and suddenly Kian is Hudson's +1 to George's wedding of the season. Hudson comes from a wealthy family where reputation is everything, and he really can't afford another mistake. If Kian goes, he'll help Hudson preserve appearances and get the opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names in media. This could be the big career break Kian needs, but their fake relationship is starting to feel like it might be more than a means to an end, and it's time for both men to fact-check their feelings. This got a starred review from Library Journal. It's obviously an LGBT love story. If you're interested in I Am So Not Over You, it comes out February 22nd. Next up is Yerba, Buna by Nina Lacour. When Sarah Foster runs away from home at 16, she leaves behind not only the losses that have shattered her world, but the girl she once was, capable of trust and intimacy. Years later, in Los Angeles, she is a sought-after bartender, renowned as much for her brilliant cocktails as for the mystery that clings to her. Across the city, Emily Dubose is in a holding pattern. In her 7th year and 5th major as an undergraduate, she yearns for the beauty and community her Creole grandparents cultivated, but is unable to commit. On a whim, she takes a job arranging flowers at the glamorous restaurant Yerba, Buna, and embarks on an affair with the married owner. When Sarah catches sight of Emily one morning at Yerba Buena, their connection is immediate. But the damage both women carry and the choices they've made pull them apart again and again. When Sarah's old life catches up to her, upending everything she thought she wanted, just as Emily has finally gained her own sense of purpose. They must decide if their love is more powerful than their past. At once exquisite and expansive, astonishing in its humanity and heart, Yerba Buena is a love story for our time and a pulsive journey through the lives of two women finding their way in the world. This is a debut novel, so it's the author's first novel, and it's also a starred review from Booklist. So if you're interested in, it's spelled Yerbabuna, Yerba Buna. It comes out February 8th. Okay, let's get into some historical fiction, which is going to be the big group. I'm trying to advance a slide. There's no slide to advance. It's just you and me. Let me get some tea, and let's get into The Family Ciao by Samantha Chang, which I swear to God I gave away a few months ago. I don't know why I gave away something so early. Maybe I misunderstood the release date or something. Anyway, The Family Ciao. The residents of Haven, Wisconsin have dined on the fine Chow's restaurant, delicious Americanized Chinese food, for 35 years, content to ignore any unsavory whispers about the family owners. Whether or not Big Leo Ciao is honest or his wife Winnie is happy, their food tastes good, and their 3 sons earn scholarships to respectable colleges. But when the brothers unite in Haven, the Ciao family secrets and simmering resentments erupt at last. Before long, brash, charismatic, and tyrannical patriarch Leo is found dead, presumably murdered, and his sons find they've drawn the exacting gaze of the entire town. The ensuing trial brings to light potential motives for all 3 brothers. Dagu, the restaurant's reckless head chef, Ming, financially successful but personally tortured, and the youngest, gentle but lost college student, James. As the spotlight on the brothers tightens, and the family dog meets an unexpected fate, Dagu, Ming, and James must reckon with the legacy of their family's outsized appetites and their own future survival. Brimming with heartbreak, comedy, and suspense, The Family Ciao offers a kaleidoscopic, highly entertaining portrait of a Chinese-American family grappling with the dark undercurrents of a seemingly pleasant small town. This got a starred review from Publishers Weekly. If you're interested in The Family Ciao, it comes out February 1st. All right. The Christie Affair by Nina. Didn't look up the author's names. I also didn't look up how to pronounce Dagou from The Family Ciao. Dagou? Anyway. The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont. Anyway. Every story has its secrets. Every mystery has its motives. A long time ago in another country, I nearly killed a woman. It's a particular feeling, the urge to murder. It takes over your body so completely, it's like a divine force, grabbing hold of your will, your limbs, your psyche. There's a joy to it. In retrospect, it's frightening, but I dare say in the moment it feels sweet, the way justice feels sweet. The greatest mystery wasn't Agatha Christie's disappearance in those 11 infamous days. It's what she discovered. London, 1925. In a world of townhomes and tennis matches, socialites and shooting parties, Miss Nan O'Day became Archie Christie's mistress, luring him away from his devoted and well-known wife, Agatha Christie. The question is, why? Why destroy another woman's marriage? Why hatch a plot years in the making? And why murder? How was Nan O'Day so intricately tied to those 11 mysterious days that Agatha Christie went missing? This got starred reviews from Kirkus and Booklist magazine. There was so much historical fiction that my historical fiction here on this list generally has two-star reviews, as does this one. I read a book about Agatha Christie's disappearance, fiction, not nonfiction. And if I can pull up my Goodreads page, I'll be able to tell you what book it is. Although my books are kind of a mess because it includes everything I've ever thought about reading, which is a long list. Plus every every book I've entered to try to win so that I could give away here on the show. So again, long list. Um, this one's called The Christie Affair. The one I read is, oh, I'm still so far away. I'm looking at so many years ago. But I will catch up eventually. I know, because I got to read it pre-publication, and I have to get through all the fantasy books that I read. I have to get through all the horror, and then I have to find the book I read. And it is... Apparently I reread The Age of Innocence last year as well, which I don't remember doing, but okay. Oh my gosh. I don't understand how so many books ended up in my read pile. I know this is a riveting live stream watching me scroll, but I swear to God, I can't, as a librarian, talk about this book and not talk about this other book, because they're two different perspectives on the same story, and they're both fictional, but they're both historical fiction that's been pretty decently researched. Therefore, I think I'm getting there, guys. I'm not getting there fast, but I am getting there. Ooh, 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 ooh. Almost. Kind of. Books I want to read. I haven't. Why? I'm in my read pile. Why are all of these books that I haven't read? There's The Secret History. There's when I freaked out and reread Harry Potter. Seriously? The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. I thought it was Marie Benedict. Okay. So The Mystery of Mrs. Christie goes more into Archie and Agatha's marriage. I really liked that book. I think you should read it if you're interested in it. This is coming at it from a different perspective and is, already pretty renowned from the reviewers. So, hey, maybe read both. But yeah, The Christie Affair comes out February 1st. It's a very long time for me to get to that. But the other book was The Mystery of Mrs. Christie. All right, moving on. The Pages by Hugo Hamilton. One old copy of the novel Rebellion sits in Lena Necht's tote bag, about to accompany her on a journey from New York to Berlin, in search of a clue to the hand-drawn map on its last page. It is the brilliantly captivating voice of this novel, a first edition nearly burned by the Nazis in May 1933, that is our narrator. Fast-paced and tightly plotted, The Pages brings together a multitude of dazzling characters, real and invented, in a sweeping story of survival, chance, and the joys and struggles of love. At its center are Roth, an Austrian Jewish author on the run, and his wife, Friederike, who falls victim to mental illness as Europe descends into war. With vivid evocations of Germany under Nazism and today, The Pages dramatically illuminates the connections between past and present as it looks at censorship, oppression, and violence. Here is a propulsive, inspiring tale of literature over 100 years, a novel for book lovers everywhere that will bring a fresh audience to this acclaimed writer. This got starred reviews from both Kirkus and Booklist. If you're interested in The Pages, it comes out February 1st. All right. I'm still in historical fiction. Next up, we have Black Cloud Rising by David Wright Falad. Okay, it's Black Cloud Rising is what it's called. Already excerpted in The New Yorker, Black Cloud Rising is a compelling and important historical novel that takes us back to an extraordinary moment when enslaved men and women were shedding their bonds and embracing freedom. By the fall of 1863, Union forces had taken control of Tidewater, Virginia, and established a toehold in eastern North Carolina, including along the Outer Banks. Thousands of freed slaves and runaways flooded the Union lines, but Confederate irregulars still roamed the region. In December, the newly formed African Brigade, a unit of these former slaves led by General Edward Augustus Wilde, a one-armed, impassioned abolitionist, set out from Portsmouth to hunt down the rebel guerrillas and extinguish the threat. From this little-known historical episode comes Black Cloud Rising, a dramatic, moving account of these soldiers, men who only weeks earlier had been enslaved, but were now Union infantrymen setting out to fight their former owners. At the heart of the narrative is Sergeant Richard Etheridge, the son of a slave and her master, raised with some privileges but constantly reminded of his place. Deeply conflicted about his past, Richard is eager to show himself to be a credit to his race. As the African Brigade conducts raids through the areas occupied by the Confederate partisan Rangers, he and his comrades recognize that they are fighting for more than territory. Wilde's mission is to prove that his troops can be trusted as soldiers in combat, and because many of the men have fled from the very plantations in their path, each raid is also an opportunity to free loved ones left behind. For Richard, this means the possibility of reuniting with Fanny, the woman he hopes to marry one day. With powerful depictions of the bonds formed between fighting men and heart-rending scenes of sacrifice and courage, Black Cloud Rising offers a compelling and nuanced portrait of enslaved men and women crossing the threshold to freedom. This got starred reviews from Booklist and Publishers Weekly. If you're interested in Black Cloud Rising, it comes out February 8th. And I'm trying to advance a slide that isn't there because that's going to keep happening. All right. Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sunden. As the Nazis marched towards Paris in 1940, American ballerina Lucy Gerard buys her favorite English-language bookstore to allow the Jewish owners to escape. Lucy struggles to run Greenleaf Books due to oppressive German laws and harsh conditions, but she finds a way to aid the resistance by passing secret messages between the pages of her books. Widower Paul Aubrey wants nothing more than to return to the States with his little girl, but the U.S. Army convinces him to keep his factory running and obtain military information from his German customers. As the war rages on, Paul offers his own resistance by sabotaging his product and hiding British airmen in the factory. After they meet in the bookstore, Paul and Lucy are drawn to each other, but she rejects him when she discovers he sells to the Germans. And for Paul to win her trust would mean betraying his mission. Master of World War II era fiction, Sarah Sunden invites you onto the streets of occupied Paris to discover whether love or duty will prevail. This got starred reviews from Library Journal and Booklist. If you're interested in Until Leaves Fall in Paris, it comes out February 1st. All right, let's move on to our one horror title, because we're not getting through a month with me as the host of this without doing a horror title. This one is called The Violence by Delilah Dawson. That sounded so cheery. The Violence by Delilah Dawson. Chelsea Martin appears to be the perfect housewife. Married to her high school sweetheart, the mother of 2 daughters, keeper of an immaculate home. But Chelsea's husband has turned their house into a prison. He has been abusing her for years, cutting off her independence, autonomy, and support. She has nowhere to turn, not even to her narcissistic mother, Patricia, who is more concerned with maintaining the appearance of the ideal family than she is with her daughter's actual well-being. And Chelsea is worried that her daughter will be trapped just as she is. Then a mysterious illness sweeps the nation, known as the Violence. This illness causes the infected to experience the sudden, explosive bouts of animalistic rage and attack anyone in their path. But for Chelsea, the chaos and confusion the virus causes is an opportunity, and inspires a plan to liberate herself from her abuser. This got starred reviews from Booklist and Publishers Weekly. If you are interested in The Violence, it comes out February 1st. All right, our final book for today is fantasy and is, I think, the beginning of a planned series. So book 1 in the series. It is called A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. Jack hasn't stepped foot on Cadence in 10 long years, content to study music at the mainland university. But when young girls start disappearing from the Isle, Jack is summoned home to help find them. Enchantments run deep on Cadence. I think it's just Cadence. Cadence. See, this is what happens when I brag about looking up names and learning how to pronounce things before we start. Bedlam. Clearly, I should not learn to pronounce names. It's bad mojo. I'm never doing it again. Okay, moving on. Gossip is carried by the wind. Plaid shawls can be as strong as armor, and the smallest cut of a knife can instill fathomless fear. The capricious spirits that rule the isle by fire, water, earth, and wind find mirth in the lives of the humans who call the land home. Adira, Jack's childhood enemy, knows the spirits only answer to the bard's music, and she hopes Jack can draw them forth by song, enticing them to return the missing girls. As Jack and Adira reluctantly work together, they find they make better allies than rivals as their partnership turns into something more. But with each passing song, it becomes apparent the trouble with the spirits is far more sinister than they expected, and an older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo them all. With unforgettable characters, a fast-paced plot, and compelling world-building, A River Enchanted is a stirring story of duty, love, and the power of true partnership, and marks Rebecca Ross's brilliant entry into the adult fantasy stage. This got a starred review from Kirkus. If you are interested in A River Enchanted, it comes out February 15th. Okay, that's our books for this week. The giveaway post should be somewhere attached to this video. I've put it in the description. I've put it in the comments. It's the same link as last week or 2 weeks ago. So hopefully you all find it, because I want everybody who wants a book to get a chance to enter. I will be back next week as usual. We will talk about March hits. And I think I'm going to end this broadcast here, because honestly, I kind of give up. It's been a weird day. And I don't know how I'm going to put this together for the later ones. Anyway, it's also been long. I feel like I've been talking forever. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Have a good week.